Hello, welcome to another World of Warships cruiser inspection. We're getting to the end of the tech tree, um, and we're on the Marseille. And the Marseille, what is the Marseille? Well, it's a large cruiser and a super heavy cruiser, battle cruiser, whatever you prefer to call it. And what comparison am I about to make? If you've watched Puerto Rico, Stalingrad, or Rhode Island video, there's exactly one comparison that's going to be made, and that is to the Rhode Island. Yeah, you're a shitty version of Rhode Island that has a reload booster. Um, Best way to describe it. The reason why you're a shitty version of Rhode Island is because you're kind of the same type of boat, but you are a cruiser and you're not a battleship, and that by default, of course, means that you will not be as good as the battleship version of this ship type. But the Marseille is very good. The Marseille is a very good combination of quite strong, but also I think very fun to play, with very very significant weaknesses. It's gigantic. The armor's dog shit. Aside from going flat to low caliber AP, the armor's extremely dog shit. 25 nose and ass that are gigantic. The hull is gigantic. You take 60-second fires. Um, but you are fast as fuck. With the speed boost up, you go 42-ish knots. You're pretty stealthy, 11.6. And we're starting this replay very late, 5 minutes in, because this is the Marseille experience. To me, this is the entire point of playing the ship, is absolutely discombobulating the enemy team. I got spotted briefly by the Shima, so the Stalin knows I'm coming. He's even going to radar, so he knows I'm coming. So he has to run out. He has to make this dash play that he's making, because if I get on his ass, I can just citadel him straight through the ass. I can burn the fuck out of him. Like, he has literally no chance. The Marseille has incredible ability to hurt battleships and cruisers in short duration fights, down to this reload booster. It's the same reload booster that Henry gets. The reload, 15 second back in 80 seconds. So you get to use them a lot more effectively than something like a Bourgogne reload booster, which I want to say has a 2 minute base cooldown, right? So you're kind of the large cruiser version of Bourgogne, but really I think the best comparison to a battleship would be, Rhode Island. And so here I'm going for the turret knocks. You have 330 millimeter gun caliber, with quite very very good shell velocity and very very good penetration. You start citadeling a lot of battleships in the 10 to 12 kilometer range. Something like 8 kilometers, you pretty much citadel everything in the game. So I'm just going for turret knocks, and I even used the reload booster on it. Got another one because I am. You see, the Stalingrad is pushing me. I need to kind of rope a dope this Pommern, get on his side. And I'm just breaking that. That's a permanent knock, right? Permanent one of his turrets. Kind of crazy. And like you see here, we're getting something like 10k AP damage at a slight angle, even aiming for turret knocks. Um, the AP on Marseille is extremely, extremely good, but the HE is also extremely good as well. And the secondaries are surprisingly decent. I would not necessarily build for them. I don't think that's really worth it. But at close range, look at the fires we're starting, right? Look, like, they're not very accurate. They don't really have any pen. But the combination of my secondaries and my HE, I mean, this Stalingrad just like instantly burns to the waterline, right? And it's just like the speed. The speed on this thing is just, it lets you do these kind of plays. And the reason why we're jumping into this replay kind of balls deep into it, and not looking at the whole thing, is because normally I show 2 back-to-back replays, but I'm going to kind of squish 3 replays that were all back-to-back into this, because I want to stress how like repeatable this play style is in the Marseille. Like, this is not this crazy push up middle where we just like ran into their spawn. Um, this is not like a 1 in 10, 1 in 5, 1 in 4, 1 in 3, 50% six. This is like a 2 out of 3 chance of success play. See where these torps are coming from now. So that tells me the Shima went straight in front of me. And the speed, right? The speed. Look at this. We're going 40 knots and we're accelerating going 40 knots. The rudder shift on the Marseille is very bad, but the turning circle is actually incredibly good, like better than most heavy cruisers. I believe it's under an 800-meter turning circle, which of course does make Marseille a very respectable candidate for taking steering gears instead of concealment. And I would probably recommend that in something like ranked. We'll talk about that more at the end of the video. But for randoms, I do typically run full conceal. You have this, very competitive concealment. You counter spot most heavy cruisers very easily, um, and you're just kind of a menace. Even though your HE DPM is of course not very good, the fact that you have this reload booster means that and you have quite a good fire chance on the HE, like the base fire chance, 35%, which is quite good. So your fires per salvo, if you hit 6-7 shells in a salvo, you're very likely to get a fire. And here you see we're just so fast that the Shima probably should have ran into the donut, but he kind of couldn't afford to. And you see the kind of damage. Hitting 5 shells on that guy, it's basically like half his HP. The secondaries definitely are decent enough to get a finish in that situation. And then you can you're just turning in. It's a very fun push, heavy push, dynamic playstyle, but you can also farm damage quite well. Yorktown, we're probably never going to Citadel with Marseille guns. The Citadel on the Yorktown is pretty much a submarine. You kind of only can get it at long range with some plunging AP. Something like Vermont at long range maybe, but this range in a Marseille, there's basically no universe I would ever Citadel this thing. But yeah, so we ran, straight up the middle of the map because we found an opening, come in behind the team, kill the Palmer in 1v1, get the Stalingrad to run out, kill the Stalingrad, come back, kill the Shima, right, and now get the kill on the Lucian most likely. And this is just it's a very repeatable experience. The reason why, you might be wondering, why am I not angling to his AP? Why am I going, too broadside to him? Is by pushing hard at the island, I'm kind of guaranteeing he doesn't get torp angles on me. Probably wouldn't have mattered, but that is the reason for that. And you see there, that was a very quick push, right? A very quick push. And this thing just wins you games. The kind of game impact, the Marseille is able to get in positions that almost no other ship is able to get to. Something like a Rhode Island can get in these positions. Rhode Island being much better than Marseille at close range, but probably arguably slightly worse at very long range because of the shell velocity. Overall, Rhode Island is a much better ship, but is this ability to run up middle, run in and out from islands, shove into people, hard push a flank, that makes this thing so good and so fun to play as well. And now straight into the second game, we are going to get a flank spawn, and quite a good map in the Marseille to hard commit instant to the flank. Basically what I am going to do is I am going to, if you look at the mini map, I'm going to dive for this island on the 10 line. And that will be a fairly, you see the sub spawn, their sub is not dived, so the spawn's going to be mirrored, so we don't have to worry about a sub. So we've got a Shima, not really a concern. This thing is so fast, you get a Hydro, very hard to torp. Smolland, he can never gun me, probably can't torp me, so not a huge threat. So I am going to just basically choose right now that I want to get on this 10-line island. Once I am on the 10-line island, I become a gigantic problem for the red team. Because typically a lot of gameplay is centered around this island here, and then the large island where the cap would normally be in a 3-cap domination game mode. And a lot of battleships play around this area, so I can very easily isolate this angle. Like on this Iowa, I can get behind this island and pure ISO him. And then anything trying to play on these rocks, I will have crossfire on. And with the speed boost up, this thing is just incredibly hard to hit. Especially anything you see on their team, only their Preußen overmatches me. And then as far as cruisers go, really the only problematic one for me is basically Hindenburg, because he has decent shell arcs, good fire starting, pens me everywhere, right? Hindenburg is definitely a ship that you will never kill 1v1. And you see there, AP with only 5 pens, only hitting 5 out of 9 shells for pens. It's 15k. And this guy is gonna, panic, because he's like, what do I do? I have to get out of here. Um, there's another 8k, so we've already done, what, 23,000 to this Iowa. And he gets like a decent, that's kind of even a strange salvo you see here. This went through my 30 millimeter plating, and I'm at a 25 to 30 degree angle. Very interesting cruiser moment, as we like to say. But I'm easily going to get to this island for free, and this guy is turning flat broadside to me because he needs to get out. He needs to try to get out, and he's just panicking. I didn't quite have the pen to citadel him, but we've taken 35k. We've forced him to turn out flat to my entire team, and this guy is not going to do well here. Now, the Golden Lion is here, which means the Smaland is here. The Golden Lion's a problem. Kind of the only ship on their team that can really fuck up this play I wanted to make. Because if I sit on this rock, the Smaland will just hard light me. And, that's not going to be good. And he's just going to airstrike me. He's never going to hit airstrikes on me open water when I'm going 40 plus knots. But, this situation, yeah, definitely. So here you see the speed just makes you... It's so hard to torp this fucking thing. And then that's 9,500 damage with the HE on this guy. So I'm just going to dodge the torps and get out of airstrike range of this guy. We've already gotten the Iowa killed. There's no reason for me to try to sit out here and let this guy utilize his airstrikes. Because if it's just a battle of guns v guns, Marseille is going to win this every single time. I have better fire starting. I'm a bit more accurate. I have the reload booster to get permafires on him, right? I have a lot more HP. You have a ton of HP in this thing. Again, not as much as Rhode Island. Yeah. But maybe it's about the same, actually. I can't remember. It's very similar. You have good HP, but yeah, I'm just making sure that the one thing he has to help him in this fight, his airstrikes, is not going to be of any value. But now you see that my Regolo is pushing, and my original plan to relocate is now out the window. So, and I'm hard spotted still, so the Smaland's got, you see I'm pinging where I think maybe the Smaland is. The Smaland's got to be crazy close, right? He's got to be almost able to spot this Regolo. So that's why I've got my guns aimed over here. I'm waiting, and my Regolo's spotted, you can see, with this spotting mod. So, and there he is. So I definitely do want to, help him. Your HE is very good against DDs. I mean, you see they're angled, 6,000 damage, broke his engine. And that is kind of what makes the Marseille a lot better, like even than Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico has a radar, right? Puerto Rico has a 10-kilometer radar, and you would think to yourself, well, that clearly means that Puerto Rico is better at fighting DDs. Nice little perma torp tube break. Great game design wargaming that destroyers can lose like half of their effective damage output. So yeah, really ballsy play by my Regolo. Yeah, incredible. You love to see it. And now there's absolutely nothing to stop me from basically going all the way from here to their base. The Golden Lion, like I said, will put up basically no fight whatsoever against a Marseille. And this is kind of the specialty of this thing, is in a pure 1v1, there's like kind of almost no cruiser that can really kill you. Something like a Salem, who won't show broadside to you, definitely is going to kill you. A Hindenburg kiting you out at like 12 plus kilometers, you're not going to citadel him, and he's going to like 7k you with every salvo right there. Like, there's definitely situations where you die in this thing, like a Goliath who's angling to you, right? Some kind of niche situations, some niche boats played by good players in certain situations, but and then battleships kiting you is a problem. But even shoving into battleships, it's like they kind of have really one, maybe two chances to kill you, because the AP is so good and you have this reload booster, and you're so fast that like you're gonna get on their broadside. If a battleship is nose in, parked in a position, you can just run at them, and they get maybe one, two, maybe three at the most salvos, and 55k HP. It's like, yeah, you can get overmatched by a lot of things. Anything with 457s, you can get nuked through the bow. But I mean, like, look at the damage this HE does is just, it's just absolutely fucking crazy how hard it hits. It's only 4,800, but you hit a lot of shells. The accuracy on the Marseille is very, very decent by these, super heavy cruisers. It's not Stalingrad. It's not quite as good as Yoshino, but I think the dispersion's a bit better than Puerto Rico, and then the Sigma's worse. So overall, the guns I feel are quite consistent, either AP on broadsides or just HE. You hit a lot of shells, but the ability to just always be pushing in this thing is kind of why, to me, it's such an enjoyable cruiser. Yes, it has gigantic weaknesses like the armor. You can't really angle to like any battleship AP if they know what they're doing. And then it can easily be burned down by a competent cruiser player. But you see what that Iowa did when we ran at him, right? Now, the smart play, you could argue, would be for him to instantly turn out, right? Instantly turn out this way, if you look at the minimap. Turn out and kite the 9-10 line. Isolate me, make it a 1v1. And it would probably take me like maybe 2 minutes to kill him. They're a nice little double fire. This guy has to DCP that, of course. And I used this reload booster too soon. Because I think this guy ends up running DCP mod. You see how he's still running DCP. And I think it just ended and then I missed. So probably not the great use of the reload booster. But you see the shell dispersion. It's really quite decent. There's really almost no complaints there. And your chance to get a fire per salvo, you hit 5-6 shots, you've probably got an 80% chance in that hit to get a fire. But back to what I was saying about this battleship player doing the wrong thing and panicking. And you might, I've seen a lot of people make these comments. He's saturated, but you see 8 out of 9 shells, pretty cool. But I've seen a lot of people make comments on like other people's videos and just kind of clips on Reddit in general. Like, I don't know, people never go broadside to me. Paid actors. Why are people going broadside to you all the time? And now there are idiots. There are definitely idiots that go broadside for no reason. If you watch enough, if you record enough gameplay, you'll find instances of it. But here's my question to you. When's the last time you got in someone's mouth and made them have a choice of park and die or try to turn out and live? Like, how often are you making those plays in your battleship, your heavy cruiser? How often are you forcing the enemy to make one of two horrible decisions, right? Because turning out and kiting me is a horrible position to be put in, but he can maybe get some damage before dying. Parking nose in is a horrible position. There's we had who was with us? The Illinois, right? Getting burned by an Illinois, a Regulo, and a Marseille. Horrible. Turning out broadside like he did, eating a ton of damage and dying. Horrible. None of those situations are good. Absolutely none of them are good decisions. They all end in him dying. You could argue there are decisions that give him a chance to maybe impact the game a bit more, but he's dead no matter what he does, right? And my point being, why was he dead no matter what? Why was there no situation where he could survive? Well, it's because I'm in F10 2 minutes into the game. That's why. That's objectively why he's in that position. That's why these people fuck up. That's why when you watch, some of your favorite streamers and you see people going flat broadside to them for quote unquote no reason, it's because they're being panicked. They're making a panicked decision because they don't have a good decision to make because there's a ship with, high caliber guns just basically up their ass. And that's my point with playing aggressive. Can you sit in the back in something like a Marseille and farm damage? Yeah. Even like you see this game, I've barely used AP. I've almost exclusively stuck on the HE. And this is like a 200k damage short duration game. The Marseille is very, very capable of just straight up farming damage. Obviously, not quite as farming as something like a Henry would, right? A traditional heavy cruiser. But the damage, I think, is a little more game impactful when played right, because you are you know, with this kind of aggressive play, you're just in people's faces. You're hitting more shells, giving you a better chance to get a fire. This is just like pure cringe greed that I'm trying to target his bow to get a fire. I should definitely be using the AP in this situation. 100%. I should have just reload boosted AP into his superstructure and already killed him. But yeah, because there's still no fire, and I would have already killed him with AP. But you see, even here, like just staying on HE, the damage is like super respectable, even just using HE. I mean, it's like 8,000 damage and a fire. I mean, it's a lot of damage with HE or AP. It kind of almost, you can play like HE only Marseille, get crazy game impact and damage. You can play like almost AP only Marseille, get good damage and game impact, right? The guns are extremely good. The speed lets you get away with a lot of fucking horseshit dog ass plays. Um, I mean, you see the kind of like we're at 14 fires, Witherer, like at only 200,000 damage, Witherer 14 fires. Yeah, it's kind of nutty. It really is just kind of nutty how much damage this thing pumps out for this type of cruiser. Pumps out way more damage than this ship is way better than Puerto Rico. Like, if you saw my Puerto Rico video, you know I hate that ship. Fuck that ship. The Marseille is way more fun, way more interesting, way more enables you to play aggressive, better guns, and then Puerto Rico just gets this pure copium radar that is like you're gonna get within 10 kilometers of the enemy, and you're absolutely gigantic, poor maneuvering, poorly armored unless you go perfectly flat. And you know that's why people play Puerto Rico. Like that's really the only thing it has going for it over a ship like Marseille is if I were to go perfectly flat to the Sicilia and he APs me, I'm probably one shot, and then in Puerto Rico, right, you take no damage. So that's kind of the only reason to play Puerto Rico. I would just straight up never play it. Yeah, in fact, I do never play it. The Marseille, like I said, are you probably overall maybe worse in most situations than Rhode Island? Yes, but it is a bit more fun because the speed is a bit higher with the speed boost, undeniably. The ships have the same top speed, but then Marseille's speed boost is 20%, Rhode Island's is 15, right? So you're like 2 knots faster when spotted, right? Because Rhode Island can obviously run brisk and totally and totally nullify that. I think Rhode Island with brisk, what does it do? Like 43 knots or something? Like absolutely retarded. But yeah, speed, 4-minute engine boost, pushing into people's mouths, this incredibly good reload booster. It's just a really fun cruise. It's really fun and really powerful. And this is just randoms, right? This is just randoms I'm talking about. I mean, this exact same play style is kind of, you know, what makes this so strong in ranked. It's why you see it so much in competitive and clan battles. Um, it's a combination, right? Because there are a lot of ships that maybe have close to the speed of the Marseille to get to a spot, right? There's a lot of ships that can maybe get to a spot. Like Henry can get to the same spot as Marseille, kind of. But you have this 11-6 concealment. So I want you to think about what cruisers have comparable speed to Marseille, comparable concealment, but then are also the same level of a threat once they get there. Like, you can get, you know, that island I dived last game, you can get to that island in that situation in probably any cruiser. Probably, like objectively speaking, like even a Des Moines, you know, there wasn't a lot of crossfire, could get to that spot. But you don't have this insane, you know, fire starting per salvo. Fires per minute, not high, but fires per salvo, very high. You don't have this AP that can citadel a ton of battleships at 10, 12 kilometers. Citadels every cruiser at, you know, you don't have this 20-kilometer range where you citadel cruisers across the map. You don't have these guns that just like dumpster DDs, take a third to half of DD's HP with one salvo, right? So it's the combination of one, you can get to a spot with the speed and concealment. Two, you have the long range gun effectiveness to kind of like grief the whole side of the map for the red team. And then you also have the survivability because you do have a lot of HP. You do have a lot of HP, and while the nose is fragile, and battleships can cook you through the nose, you don't take a lot of citadels through the nose. And because you have so much HP, even something like on Montana running up your nose is still going to take a solid 3, 4, 5, sometimes 5, 6 salvos to kill you, right? So I got super aggressive on this rock. I'm turning out because I'm trying to get shots on the buffalo. But, I'm kind of just like floating here. I'm kind of just floating here. I want to be able to crossfire this buffalo. Uh, Probably like basically a waste of my time because there's like no reason he's not going to be dead here, right? He's broadside to Missouri, Zeton, and Stalingrad, and I think he just blows up. Very interesting gameplay. Um, but like, especially against battleships with exposed above water citadels, OKR, something like a North Carolina, like this thing is gonna eat a North Carolina fucking alive, dude. I mean, this guy has no chance. Like, uh, your guns, your just like overall gun power is like very comparable to like a tier 8 battleship. Obviously, you don't have the caliber, but just the kind of damage per salvo, it's so consistent. This is an example of like a battle cruiser style ship that the trade-off actually feels worth it. To me, when I play Puerto Rico, the trade-off on the gun power, like just straight up doesn't feel worth it because you don't really have the accuracy, the shelf life time, uh, and that. But because you get the decent accuracy on Marseille, I mean, this, like look at that, just disgusting. 8,000 damage, we like broke everything on his fucking boat, and I'm just pushing in because I want to get this Fletcher spotted. You see where my Benham is? The Fletcher has a choice. Does he turn out and then Benham spots him, or does he sit here and get hydro by me, right? So yeah, I mean, again, this is what, going back to what I said in the last replay, is forcing people to make bad decisions. And it's not like what is his choice here, realistically speaking? There you go, 17k from a North Carolina because he hit a lot of no's. But I mean, we're gonna Citadel the fuck out of it. Basically any battleship without a troll Citadel, you're gonna get sits on at this range. It's only one, but still 23,000 damage. The sub is now making super interesting plays. He was at Periscope, and then he ran into my Hydro. And then now he's just going to surface. I don't think he's even being sub-surveilled. But he's just going to surface and let me kill him. Thank God, dude. Honest to God, thank fucking Christ that the average submarine player has less than room temp IQ. Because these ships would be turbo cancer toxic AIDS if they were captained by people who, even just had unsuccessful lobotomy attempts, right? So we've basically, by shoving in here, we've, the Buffalo suicided, that's whatever. But by shoving in here, we've just like instantly removed 3 ships. This flank is just insta-1, right? And you see the position of my teammates. Not all the time. Listen, you're going to have idiots on your team. It's random battles. But quite often, when you shove your ship into the enemy team, any semi-competent, intelligent teammate, like our Missouri has not read the room, right? He's just parking for no reason back there. But the Stalingrad, the Zeton, the Benham have all read the room. They're like, oh, this Marseille is just running into the enemy team spawn. Let's go with him, right? And like, yes, I understand that you're going to get people who just park and spawn no matter what you do, how you play. But you also need to keep in mind that there is such a thing as incentivizing good play from your teammates. Like, if you're in a radar minnow and you don't go near the cap, you can't really expect a DD to smoke for you, right? If you're in a Marseille and I'm kiting in H2, HE spamming, then like, who's pushing, right? Like, if I'm playing like a bitch, why should I expect my teammates to not play like a bitch? So this G-Nan, it's like, we just run him down, he's a free kill. He's going to hit like a couple of torps on me. It's fine. It's whatever. Decent amount of HP, like I said. And then this guy, now who does he angle to? Does he angle to Stalingrad? Does he angle to me? Does he angle to Zeton? Right? I can hear like comments if this was a clip on Reddit. Wow, why do people go so broadside to you in all these replays? Because you're forcing them to. It's really that simple. Because you are forcing them to choose a terrible option. Yeah, I mean, these AP salvos, they're coming every 18 seconds with the reload booster, right? You're pumping out 3 salvos with the reload booster in about 20 seconds, and the game's over. was the damage super impressive in any of these games? It was decent in game 2, right? A little over 200k. These other 2 games are like, what, barely over 100? But the ship can just win your team the game like instant, right? In a way that I would argue almost nothing without radar can. There's kind of no, there's certainly no cruiser, and Rhode Island doesn't really count because it has radar. Um, Stalingrad doesn't count because it has radar. It's kind of the only ship that really comes to mind where full sending into a flank can just like instant win your team the game. The Napoli can be capable of that. The problem with the Napoli is you don't have a hydro, so like Didi's in that situation, like that Fletcher, there would be nothing to push him out of that smoke when I ran in something like a Napoli. But you definitely can achieve this kind of instant win potential in something like a Napoli. The thing with the Marseille is just being able to citadel like every battleship in the game at 10 kilometers, as opposed to Napoli, where you kind of got to get down to like the 5-6 kilometer range to reliably do it. And then you have the speed and the hydro. So you don't really have the armor, but you have the speed, the hydro, the guns, the reload booster. I think you even saw in that replay too. The secondary started a fire. I want to say. I'm pretty sure. Secondaries aren't really worth building into, but at close range, they actually get you some fires, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I would argue there's probably not a non-utility cruiser in the game that can achieve this kind of burst instant game impact that Marseille can. When you cram a ship with good guns right up the enemy team's ass, they lose their minds. They just absolutely lose their minds. People do not have discipline in this game. Like my best example of that is when I said in my Radar Minotaur review that like should the Radar Minotaur kill DDs on its own? Like absolutely not. Like why are you broadside to Minnow AP for 5-6 salvos letting it kill you, right? All destroyer players have to do to not die to Minnow Radar is they get radared and they just literally point their nose at the Minnow, hit the reverse key, leave their keyboard, go grab a beer, smoke a joint, whatever you're feeling, come back in 54 seconds when the radar ends, and their ship is still half HP, right? But people don't have any discipline. They have no discipline, so they panic. And this is the point. Ships that make people panic, or even just gameplay that makes people panic, is incredibly invaluable. And it just kills me to see this community parrot this complaint about the passive meta, the passive meta, the passive meta. The meta is so passive, man. The meta is just so passive, and it's like, you are playing passive, motherfucker. Yeah, I understand there's subs and CVs, but like, you are choosing to play passive. Like, people complain about like Kremlin, a bunch of these ships that have like really good guns, but they rely on close range fighting. It's like, oh, they're bad these days, right? Like they're bad because you can't push in. It's like, maybe you can. I'm not some genius at this game, but like, if I can play Marseille like this and get like a 60 plus win rate in it, like everyone should be capable of that. I mean, it's not that difficult. Like, yeah, like I said, a good sub player will shut that play down, right? Like a good sub player would not be spotted on the flank. He would just park on the flank and start trying to tort me. But like sub players aren't good. That's the thing. Is like, what percent of sub players even know how their ship works? Like, what's the percentage of sub players who even understand like the torpedo max damage arming threshold? Like, basically none. Basically 80% of submarine players I see in my games, they're trying to send torps at 2.4 kilometers that do 0 damage, right? So you have to acknowledge that like most of the enemy team is bad. If they're good, then that changes things. But like, these people who play Marseille and just permakite and spawn off rip, it just gives me cancer watching it. Like, play the fucking ship, man. Or play Lighthouse Henry. Okay, now that we've gotten our obligatory, or is it obligatory? I think it's obligatory. Not rant, mild-mannered critique of the player base out of the way. We can get into the ship. You know what? We can't. We can't get into the ship just yet because I'm so... Listen, okay? If someone like me who is not that good at the game, okay? Am I an above average player statistically? Yes, I guess so. Am I some super unicum god? Some fucking John the Ruthless take two? No, I'm absolutely not. if I can play this ship and get a 70% plus, it's actually like a 70 solo win rate, 70 div win rate. If I can play like a fucking aggressive bot in this thing and win 7 out of 10 games in it, I don't care if you're not as good of a player as me. If you think, oh, I'm not very good, so maybe I can't play like that. You just still play the ships, man. It's a fucking video game, okay? Are you going to average 200k damage playing like this? No, you're absolutely not. You're not going to have the funny dark purple damage stat if you play Marseille like I do. But you're going to win games. You're going to win games. And you're going to become a better player probably at playing aggressive if you play a ship aggressively. This is the point of the ship. Like, can you spam long range HE? Like, yeah, as you saw in that second replay, we kind of had to. Yeah, you can farm damage, but like that's not the point. The point of the ship is just cramming it down their fucking throats, right? You just fucking open them up and you get the fucking pinky pusher out and you just cram the Marseille into their mouth and they fucking panic, they scatter, they fuck up, they go broadside to things. That's why, okay? Back to the first point a couple replays ago. That's why people go flat to people that play aggressive. That's why that Iowa's going flat. The North Carolina is going flat at 8 kilometers to me. It's because he's fucking panicking. Because I'm breaking the gentleman's agreement of the game. The rule is you don't leave your spawn and enter my spawn in the first 3 minutes of the game. That's the rules, man. Them's the rules, right? This is how everyone plays the passive meta. The passive meta exists because the community collectively chooses to play passively. It does not exist because of subs and CVs. Play brawls. Okay? Play brawls. Tell me how many times in a brawl everyone pushes. I don't know what brawls you're playing. When I play brawls, half the fucking people on my team go for like a 10-line flank. Camp and spawn. Don't push into the cap. Play ranked. Yeah, there's subs and CVs allowed. Get in a ranked game. Get in a ranked game without subs and without carriers, and you tell me how aggressively people play. Aside from just W key warrior Schlieffen players, you tell me how aggressively that Ohio player plays. No, he kites and spawn 9 out of 10 times, right? This community collectively chooses to play passively because they want to farm damage and feel good about themselves. I don't get to feel good about myself. I average like 150k damage in these games, which is like good, I guess. Like it's fine, it's good damage, but I'm not averaging 200k in the Marseille because that's not the fucking point. Play the goddamn game. Okay. Equipment. I think this is kind of the play. I was playing this in ranked, that's why steering gears are on here. I think this is like objective correct build in ranked. Steering gears is crazy good on this thing because look at this turning circle. This turning circle is bananas on a ship this big and this fast, right? But the rudder shift is dog shit. It's like a 14-second, 15-second base rudder shift. So you get very respectable rudder shift on an awesome turning circle radius. But for those random games, I 100% run concealment. I would recommend concealment overall. I think in randoms, again, most of these reviews are centered on randoms. We might talk about rank CBs a bit. But the gameplay is about randoms. Concealment's way better because you get down to 11.6 instead of 12.9. That's like a really crucial number to hit. That makes you comfortably outspot like even the stealthier heavy cruisers. That makes you not at least get completely outspotted by Bungo. Haha, Bungo, Loria, right? You've got a little room to work with here. It's easier to get dark. Definitely I do run concealment exclusively in randoms, and I probably would overall. On this ship, it's too valuable, I think, to not run. Did you know that you can take a fighter plane on Marseille? Did you know that? Wow. Imagine trolling by taking speed boost. But you definitely want speed boost mod. You definitely want prop mod. You definitely want main battery. You definitely want aiming systems. All of this. This is the ranked build, and then you swap this for concealment in randoms. Captain-wise, every time I talk about French ships, I always have to mention what captain you use because I think it does matter. I think Honor is objectively correct on the Marseille. A couple reasons. One, listen, I don't give a fuck about improved AR. This is not really a DPM ship. It's not that great of a skill. It's fine. It's nice. It's a little boost. Turret traverse. Improved grease the gears, buddy. That is what we're at because look at this, baby. Look at this. These turrets with improved grease the gears are the same speed as Laria guns with no modifier. In-comp guns with no modifier. Fucking incredible. Yet again, proving how Wargaming's least favorite class is cruiser players. Because even when you get something close to battleship guns, you still get dog shit turret traverse. You absolutely want grease the gears, and it's improved on this captain. Huge, huge, huge plus. Also, remember that you have a ton of HP, and Abanu has improved survivability expert. 500 HP on a ship with like 70 plus thousand HP. You don't give a fuck. The speed boost when you get 2 million potential damage does happen. Not super consistently, but I would say like 1 in 3, 1 in 4 games, you will get 2 million potential in this thing. And having an extra 8% speed boost is nice, but overall, I just don't think it compares to the improved Grease the Gears is so nice. This ship's turret traverse is horrific, especially because you have this really good, really tight turning circle. And you have a decent reload. The guns, even with improved Grease the Gears, are like barely keeping up with the ship movement. So that now, as far as we're gonna get to why I have heavy AP on this thing, and the reason is that these are like the skills. You absolutely want Grease the Gears. You absolutely want Last Stand. You absolutely want Shell Feeder. Slot 2, there's not really anything that's 35 to 36%. You're buffing your fire damage by 3%. It doesn't fucking matter. You know me, I don't really care for PT. So I like this because the speed boost lasts another, about 20 seconds, which is pretty cool. You definitely want AR. You definitely want Superintendent, Concealment. Now, the thing is, I would say you definitely could drop survivability on Marseille. You have a ton of HP, but I do like keeping the HP as high as it is, especially, again, like in ranked. But top grade gunner is a great skill, absolutely a great skill. The question is, how do you fit it in? Will you fit it in by not taking Last Stand, right? You don't take Last Stand, you would have 4 points, and you put it on top grade gunner. Probably you can get away with no Last Stand, probably. And top grade gunner is probably superior. The sole reason that I have heavy AP on this thing is it's either that or Pack a Punch. And probably, yeah, I think, oh, you know what? I think I have, I'll tell you why I have heavy AP on this. This is my Condi captain build. Heavy AP on Condi is like unironically kind of okay because you hit like 24 AP shells with a burst on people. But heavy AP is a pure cope skill on this. Probably don't take it. I would probably recommend you roll the dice and drop Last Stand in this for top grade gunner, or you invest in lower point skills. You would drop this, and probably like even Pack a Punch might legitimately be better. The secondary battery has a very good range, so like you can get it's like 11-kilometer range on your secondaries. It's kind of funny. They have no accuracy, but you see the 10% fire chance and the OK reload, right? And you have a decent number of secondaries. Like you see, you have 12 of these. You have 12 of each, right? And they both have a 6-second reload. So like you're shitting out, 12 because only half of them really fire, right? So you get a couple of fires. So Pack-a-Punch is like not even that big of a troll on this thing. But yeah, I would say overall you would drop these for top grade gunner, or drop it for consumable specialist and PT, because just getting the speed boost back a bit earlier is whatever. Pure cope skill, probably shouldn't take it. Commander Yap session over. We can view the armor. And it's, I mean, pretty much dog shit. The one thing this thing has going for it is the 36 deck. And 36 being a very interesting number. This deck was 35. Shiki, Satsuma, and Incomp would deck pen you, and life would be pure hell in a cell against those ships. So at least, and the superstructure is not that big, right? Another selling point. So at very long range, now the problem is you have a shell catcher, so shells like skip into this. But at super long range, you definitely can bounce off the deck. You're not as horrifically susceptible to overmatch by 30 mil overmatch because while yes, this part is big and 30, you do have a very above water casemate that is not overmatchable, obviously. The nose is not crazy big either. And if I strip this away, you'll see that the Citadel is like barely above water, quite narrow as well, quite narrow. So getting sits to the nose, pretty rare, pretty rare. You do have a ton of just overall side protection, right? You have 210, you have this, and then the Citadel. So this is why, like, against cruiser AP specifically, I mean, at long range, you just non-pen everything, because, you know, at 17, 18 kilometers, most cruiser AP just can't even pen the casemate. But then at close range, you have this 45-degree sloped turtleback. You can ricochet a few things off this. Obviously, Battleship AP will overmatch it, and that won't matter at all. This thing goes flat. It definitely blows up to Battleship AP for sure, for sure, for sure. Especially in like medium-ish range, where any kind of plunging fire happens. There's just a bit of more wiggle room for shells to reach the Citadel. So the armor is like kind of junk, but it's not turbo junk. You know, compared to something that's like a similar size, like a Gibraltar, this armor is way better, obviously. Um, you know, it overall might even be better when you're angled than like Puerto Rico because the superstructure is smaller. It's definitely better than Yoshino armor, right? So it's pretty shit against battleship players who can aim, but overall it's not like horrifically bad. Um, yeah, all the guns are in the front. You have really good firing angles, I should mention. Really good firing angles, like maybe 20 degrees ish. Very nice. This middle turret 360s, the other two don't. Um, yeah, overall a rare combination of strong and fun. There's a lot of strong cruisers in this game that are not very fun. Uh, Petro, Moskva, Stalin, very strong cruisers, very good armor, not super fun to play. Some very fun cruisers that aren't super strong, maybe. Marseille is very powerful. Even in randoms, like well above average. Honestly, in randoms, I would probably put it like Stalingrad, Marseille for the large cruiser, the super heavy cruiser. Power level, I mean, better than most non-utility cruisers. Definitely better than Henry in my book. Like even in randoms, just kind of superior if you're trying to win games than Henry. Uh, yeah, really good. Definitely a line you should play. Now, when I say a line you should play, you might just want a free XP to this thing, man. The Cherbourg might be the most single-handedly high suffering experience I have ever had in this video game. Playing the Cherbourg in random battles I honestly can't think I've ever suffered playing a ship more in randoms. And the Brest is like pretty okay. And then you get to the Marseille and it's like really good. And there's quite a few lines like that. Like we just looked at Cerberus. I probably should have mentioned that in the Cerberus video. But when you play the Cerberus line, it's like suffer, 8 turbo suffering, 9 turbo suffering, Cerberus. This thing's pretty good, right? Kind of an interesting situation going on there. But yeah, the Marseille's super strong. Solid, like A tier cruiser in random battles. Incredibly good in ranked, incredibly good in clan. But it's good in all. It's good in all 3 game modes, and it's fun. Like, what other cruiser has that going for it? Honestly, nothing. Even something like Napoli is you know, about as fun, but in randoms, it's not as good as Marseille. It's as good, you know, in like clan battles ranked. But yeah, I think this might be like one of the only cruisers in the game that is really fun, really good in randoms, really good in ranked, really good in CBs. Uh, Pretty unique in that regard. A super good ship, definitely worth getting. And we will stop blabbing. That's going to do it for the Marseille, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.